you, Donald Trump. You were such a great leader. You were just brilliant.
MAGA is having a meltdown right now, and Donald Trump is the reason, as he has betrayed his America First policies. Now, if you missed it, Donald Trump sent $20 billion to Argentina to help them through an economic difficulty and to try to limit Chinese influence on the country. And how did Argentina repay us? By immediately selling millions in soybeans to China, stealing U.S. soybean market. And MAGA is losing it because this is not what Donald Trump promised. He promised we would put America first. And now, because of his trade war that he has no plan to win, no idea how to win, he is betraying all of his promises. But think of this. MAGA, farmers, two voting blocks for Donald Trump are both losing in this situation. So the question has to be asked. How many more times will you believe Donald Trump? How many more times will you believe Republicans before you realize they're lying to you, except...
Thought of the day. Joe Biden. And if you voted for him and don't regret it, you too. Today's the day that I turned my truck in. I between the shops and the insurance and everything else that goes with it, the payments, I went broke. Put it mildly, I just went broke. I turned my truck in. Love my truck. I tried my best. It's the worst day of my life.
I don't give up. Is this you? Yeah, that's you.
I said what I said, Joe Biden. Say one good thing about Joe Biden. He'll be dead soon, and then...
May you forever live in this energy that you created for yourself. May you have the day you deserve for the rest of your life.
It's financially as well as emotionally. It takes a toll.
Vincent, you voted for Donald Trump?
Yes, I did.
He thought the Trump administration was going to focus solely on deporting criminals. It seems immigration officials, he says, are just trying to meet quotas now. 6 Nicaraguan men who on May 27th were detained along US 1 in Sugarloaf Key on their way to a job. Their immigration attorney says it should not have happened because 5 of the 6 have their paperwork in order with pending asylum cases. Vincent Scardina is the owner of the roofing company where they worked. He's owned it 37 years.
You become their friends, just not an employer, but a friend. And you see what happens to their family. It's quite a shock.
Given his support for the president, we asked what he would tell the commander-in-chief if he had a chance.
What happened here? This situation is just totally, just blatantly not at all what they said emotionally.
Get those crocodile tears away from me. Stop acting, bro. Stop acting like you didn't know. Come on. Come on. You just didn't think it would happen to you.
50% new tariff on Brazil. Brazil had a $6.8 billion surplus last year. In fact, the U.S. hasn't had a trade deficit with Brazil since 2007. I mean, almost 2 decades. So why are we putting a punishing 50% tariff on Brazil?
My husband just got an email saying that he lost his job because of the tariffs. He's a cargo pilot. And we voted for the lady. We didn't vote for this. This is so uncool. It's like, what are they trying to do? Like, what is happening? I'm sorry that happened, babe. Are you all right?
It's all right. I guess I can
He'll look for another
get
job.
a truck driving job.
When they say they don't care about you, they just want your
I didn't
vote.
want to speak about this one yet because a lot of people did mention them, but I was not seeing anything from the owners because, first of all, their social media profiles are private. They don't have any donor history. Voter records are even, like, I don't know. Then I went into their Instagram, who they follow. They were my first studio that I went there, but I already knew the vibes. Like, they were very cliquey, a lot of people. So yeah, if you're a reformers or Pilates studio that is on the right side of history, please let me know, and I would love to give you guys a shout out. Side note, if I haven't done the business that you tipped me about, it's because their owners and their business don't have any political history to track, and also their social media profiles are private. This is where I need to be careful because I don't want to be sued for defamation.
No. You voted for this. We warned you. We told you how bad it would be. And you wouldn't listen, so now live with it.
August. Brazil's president told Trump off. Now Trump is punishing him by making Americans pay higher prices. Trump enacted a 50% tariff on all Brazilian products, even though the U.S. has a trade surplus with Brazil, and even though Brazil grows over a third of America's coffee and 2/3 of its orange juice. And there's more about Trump and tariffs at culturalperspective.com. So follow along here. Trump and the world are a cultural mismatch. The world thinks in partnerships and Trump thinks in punishments. But because Trump can't punish other countries, he doesn't have control over them, he punishes Americans, in this case with higher prices. But it has minimal effect on Brazil because only 16% of Brazilian coffee goes to the United States. But the United States imports 35% of its coffee from Brazil. It's even worse with orange juice because the United States imports 65% of its orange juice from Brazil. Now, Brazil is more dependent on the United States with orange juice because it exports about 35% of its crop to the US. Still, the balance is in favor of Brazil, and it's not like there aren't high tariffs on other countries that are exporting orange juice and coffee to the United States. So what will happen is happening. Countries will stop exporting to the United States. Prices will rise because the supply is less, and on top of already higher prices from the tariffs. How does this punish Brazil? I have no idea, and neither does Trump.
Hi, I'm Emily. I'm a coffee importer, and I want to take a moment to tell you a little bit about how the Brazil tariffs are going to impact coffee imports. So first, just real quick, a little background. I've been in importing for about 7 years and coffee for about 15. Let's get into Brazil. So August 1st, new tariffs were announced, and it's pretty confusing. So I wanted to tell you just really quickly how the tariffs are going to work when coffee comes into the United States. Brazil produces 30% of the coffee that the United States imports. It's not a supply chain that can be replaced. The United States consumes 3.6 billion pounds of coffee each year, and we can only produce 20 million pounds of coffee. So that's a really big gap that we have to fill. Brazil is also a really unique country in that Brazil cost of production of coffee is really low because of unique climate and topography. It allows coffee to be mechanically processed or mechanically harvested, and so it's pretty inexpensive to grow and harvest coffee in Brazil. For that reason, it is the base of most things. Any blend that you see, any espresso that gets used, it's usually based on Brazil. So when we're bringing coffee in from Brazil, here's how it's going to work. These are tariffs. There is not a single penny that's going to be paid by the exporting country. I don't care what the government says, not a penny will be paid by the exporting country. The importer in the United States is going to bring that container of coffee, so that box of coffee over from Brazil. It's going to go to the port, at which point it's going to go through customs. At the point that it goes through customs, it's going to be like we have to file customs paperwork, and we have to identify we have a customs broker who identifies all of the different fees and regulations that are applicable to this coffee. So Brazilian coffee is going to be hit by the code 9903.01.77. That's a 40% tariff that comes from the recent executive order that was put forward about a month ago. And it's also going to be hit by 9903.02.09, which is the 10% tariff that was announced last night. all of the tariff codes stack. So that comes out to being a 50% tariff. And that's 50% based on whatever the value was labeled in the customs paperwork. So if it gets labeled that the value of that a pound of Brazilian coffee is $4, then it's going to be an additional $2 in tariff. That fee has to be paid up front by the importer before customs will release the coffee. So it's not like we can sell it and then take that money and use it to pay for the tariff. Like you would, if you were roasting coffee, right? You could sell it and then you could pay your bill, and that's kind of how things work. It doesn't work that way with tariffs. We need to pay that up front before we can release the coffee. And if we don't pay it, it's going to accumulate additional fees for being held and stored. So it has to get paid. And because these tariffs have been so unpredictable, nobody's got cash laying around, and we certainly don't have an extra 40, 60. I think on our last container of Brazil, we would be looking at like $100,000 in tariff costs if that comes through. So nobody's got that laying around, nobody. So you have to go to a bank and get that money financed. So additionally, on top of paying the 50% tariffs, you're also going to be paying 12% interest, 6% interest, whatever. You're going to be paying interest on that money. So that is an additional cost that we have to be paying on top of the tariff rate. So banks are making a lot of money off of this because everybody's got to go out and get financing. And then all of that money is going to the US government. To give you a little bit of perspective, when we import coffee and we sell it, we make a 10% margin. That means that with every single coffee we bring in, right now the federal government makes more money than we do on the products that we sell. So they're making bank off of us. And where's that money going? It's going to the new budget that was just authorized and voted on and approved. If you pay attention, there are 10 years of tariff rates that are added into that budget, which means they are not going to be reducing tariff rates. They're not dealing. The only negotiation that's happening is with the American people to try to negotiate our money out from our pockets. So the government's taking the money. You're not getting it as a rebate check. You're not going to get it to pay down debt. It has already been allocated in the budget to pay for the tax cuts, to pay for the increase in spending to ICE. That's where it's going for. It's going for all of these different things, but it's not coming back to you. So when we say tariffs are a tax, this is what we're talking about. Instead of tax income in the budget, they use tariff income. Every single penny of it's coming from the American consumer. We've got the receipts to back it up. And that's how tariffs work. That's how Brazil's going to work until coffee either gets exempted or until coffee, until these tariffs, until somebody comes to their senses and these tariffs get pulled back. That's it. If you have questions, drop them.
Bottom line is the president has been very frustrated with negotiations with Brazil and also with the actions of Brazil. In the end, though, we're trying to put America first. I think that a lot of people, when I'm talking to negotiators from other countries, at some point they'll say, what did we do wrong? And what I'm trying to get, the message we're all trying to get across is this is about America getting itself ready for the golden age by getting our house in order, by getting our tariff and trade policy and tax policy exactly where it needs to be for a golden age.
I don't understand how you're saying it's about America, because the president has made it quite clear that what he's upset about is how the Brazilian Supreme Court has handled the criminal case involving former President Bolsonaro.
I'm agreeing with you. What I'm saying is that what I've been saying with most countries was that it's really about us getting the tariffs in order. And I think that this tariff for Brazil is a lot higher because of the president's frustration with Bolsonaro.
The Maga Trump supporters regret their vote after losing their businesses and ignoring warning from the blacks. So for small business owner, politics is not just about winning election. So it is about whether their businesses survives. Every election normally brings opportunities. So every election brings promises of lower tax, stronger economic growth, and better opportunities. So many MAGA supporters believed Donald Trump would create the condition of their business to thrive. But for some people, the reality has been much more difficult than what they have been expected. So the question is, if your business started struggling after an election, would you blame your vote? Or would you believe other factors were responsible? I want you to share that opinion in the comment section. So let's move on. Some business owners now saying rising costs, changing consumer spending, and economic uncertainty have made it harder to stay open. They expected better financial condition, but instead they found themselves making painful decisions, cutting off staff, reducing inventory, or even closing their business altogether. For this owner, politics has become very personal. So the title also raises another question. Did they ignore the warning from black Americans? Because throughout recent election, many black voters expressed their concern about the possible impact of certain economic and political policies. Some argue that those policies would hurt working families and even small businesses over time. And some people they disagree and believe Trump policy would ultimately strengthen the economic for everyone. Now, some people are pointing back to those earlier debates and asking whether those warnings deserve another look. So some others argue it is too far simple to say one group was completely right or another one was completely wrong, because the economy is influenced by many factors, including inflation, interest rate, global events, consumer confidence, and government decisions across multiple administrations. So let me quickly ask another question. Do you think people should admit when political prediction turns out to be right, even if they come from someone they disagree with politically? Not every Trump supporter regrets their vote. In fact, millions of people still believe they made the right decision. They argue that current economic struggles cannot be blamed on one leader alone, and that rebuilding an economy takes changes. They also believe that many challenges facing business today are the result of broader national and global economic pressure. In fact, at the same time, some former supporters says that they say their priorities has changed. Instead of focusing on campaign promises, they are now paying closer attention to their own financial reality. So when businesses close, savings disappears, or even family struggles to pay bills, political loyalty also can be tested during this period. So here is the biggest question of all. Should voters stay loyal to a political during, or let me say, should voters stay loyal to a politician during difficult economic times? Or should results always come first? Because history has shown us that the economic often decide election. People may disagree on immigration, foreign policy, or social issue, but when businesses fail, and families begin to struggle financially, many voters start asking that question. And the question is that many voters start asking that question. That is true regardless of which political party is in power. But in the end, this story is not about Trump supporters or black voters or one election. It is about expectation meeting reality. Some believe that the warning were accurate. Others believe that the story is much complicated. But one thing is very certain: when people livelihood are at stake, political opinion can quickly change. And the final question is, if your business failed after voting for a candidate you strongly support, would you vote for that person again, or would you look for someone else new? So let us know that in the comment section below. And thanks for watching, guys. See you in my next video. Thank you.